So we're planting tomatoes here today. I have 14 different ones. Bought these from the store. We started our seeds, but we want to get a head start on them. So we're going to plant mostly big beef hybrids. We also want to try this celebrity. It's a hybrid tomato. They're all indeterminate, so they'll keep on growing. And let's see what the third one is. Creole, which is heat tolerant for South Louisiana. So this should do well.
And how far apart are we planting?
We're going to plant them 18 inches apart.
The biggest reason we're doing that is because there's a lot of heat and humidity during the summer, and we tend to catch a lot of blight on our tomatoes, so we are going to space them as far as we can to make sure we can keep them going as long as we can.
What I'm doing here is, in the holes we dug, a few holes already, I'm putting some potting soil mix just to help the roots. They're young and tender, so just to give them something to grab hold of, and they won't stay super wet in the beginning, so you don't end up with root rot.
Alright, Lane, you gotta look, dig a hole just like that. So
Look, maybe just dig.
straight down like this.
Big piece there.
Yep. What you can do if you want, and you can see he's doing in here, you want to bury your tomatoes a little bit deeper. It's going to give them a stronger root system and a stockier base for the future. Because since they're indeterminate, they can get anywhere up to 6 feet tall. And what we're going to do is we're going to put tomato cages, even though they aren't the best. And then we're going to add some poles. That way we can tie them to the poles as they grow. And try to keep them from breaking. Let's see. Hang on. You got to put a little bit of potting soil in here. Get a scoop of potting soil from Dad. Alright, put it in the hole. Alright, and put your tomato. You can see he's loosening up the roots before he puts it in. That way it has room to spread. Alright, that's good. Put it a little deep. Make sure you cover it up good.
And what will happen with this part of the stalk that's buried, what it will do is that'll actually start rooting into the ground. So it'll have a strong base.
I'm getting another.
Make sure you're far enough.
I know.
Right here. Once they get bigger, we usually trim to a single stem. And we'll remove all the suckers. Why do we remove the suckers?
Because you want all the nutrients to go into developing fruit and not just leaves. So by keeping it one main stalk and getting rid of the suckers, it'll just put all of its energy it gets from the nutrients into developing fruit and not necessarily useless branches.
And the thing to remember is he's the scientific one. I'm the flower one. And you're what?
The helper.
You the helper?
Yeah, helper.
You like helping?
Yeah.
You like gardening? Yes. Watch.
I got it.
No, listen.
So
if you do it that
this
way,
one
you're
here
going to break our little stem.
developed into two stalks, so instead of trimming one off, I'll just keep both of them.
I don't believe it. I got it. You don't have to hold it.
Then what we'll do, because
You
they'll
don't
go
have
in
to
the transplant shop
I know that. Don't hold it.
Okay.
from being transplanted. So once we finish with the video, we'll go and use a fish emulsion fertilizer mix. It'll help with transplant shock.
Dad, my put some
It'll help them adjust to being transplanted into the ground.
Go
And it's
even
a-
with that.
It's a non-burning fertilizer, so it doesn't smell the best, but it definitely works on vegetables. It's organic, so it kind of goes along the lines of what we're trying to do is not necessarily certified organic, but we don't like to use chemicals, and we'll in the summertime we'll just eat out the garden while we're working out here, so we don't have to worry about pesticides and washing. And as you can see, Lane's always in the garden with us, so and you don't want kids to be ingesting pesticides. And it's a topic for a whole different video.
Alright, so we are going to continue planting these tomatoes, and then we'll come back in a little bit when we plant our beans, and we'll get some video of that. We're trying to follow square foot gardening, but for our tomatoes, we got to go with a larger spacing. Like I said, just because we deal with a lot of blight in the summer, and we're about to hit our rainy months, and it'll just rain, and it'll just spread disease around. So, we'll see you in a few. Alright, so I said we'd be back when we're planting beans, but we're going to go ahead and put tomato cages on them now while they're small, because you don't want to disturb their root systems. Tomato cages for indeterminate tomatoes are not going to cut it for the whole growing time, because they will pass them up. So you can see the poles in the background right here. We're going to add those in also, and then what we'll do is we'll tie the tomatoes up to the poles once they pass up the cages. And you can use the green garden wrap, old t-shirts, anything soft that has some give to it. That way it's not breaking your plants. Anything you'd like to add to that?
No, I think you covered everything. I definitely like to put them in now, which seems pretty useless to have them in now, but you won't disturb your root base later on. Fighting with branches to try to get it on. It's overall, I find it to do them now. Then we'll put dry pipes down on the side of them now, and we'll keep the pipes short, and we'll just add on the pipes as the tomato grows up. And naturally, every few days we'll come by and we'll prune them, because they're already determined, so you can't prune them. Pulling off suckers, and I prefer to just throw everything back at the base. It'll compost down. Just kind of give back, let it give back to itself.
Something else we'll probably end up doing is getting some mulch straw, something along those lines, to put at the bases of the tomatoes, because you don't want that splashback from watering and from rain, because that contributes to a lot of tomato diseases, and you'll lose your tomatoes much sooner than you would have with a little bit of prevention right from the start.
And this particular bed right here, it's great for the tomatoes, and I decided to plant the tomatoes in this bed because it's close to our quail area, and we throw all our soft shell quail eggs and we pick them. We'll throw them in here, so the calcium is great for tomatoes. Make for a nice sturdy stalk. Nice healthy plant.
It's also close to our rabbitry area. So when we clean pans, everything goes into the closest beds. So there's lots of natural fertilizer in this one. Yeah, some of our tomato cages are in rough shape because we saved what we could after the hurricane. So they're not the prettiest, but they'll do the job.
I'll come back and I'll resecure all of these just to help support it at a later time off video.
Alright, so these are the poles we're going to use. They're just some poles that the neighbor was throwing away. And that's our biggest thing, is upcycling and reusing what we can when we can. And these will be perfect.
I don't know.
Beans.
Beans. Okay.
Greasy grits.
Okay. Alright.
And these are delicious. I don't think we had any that made it inside our house last year.
Okay.
All right.
You want to go on that side and help him, or y'all got it? So greasy grits beans actually come from a swap. I don't know if that's their technical name, but they are delicious,
Hey.
fresh or cooked.
One more. Great. With the waffles.
And then we're planting them in a grid. So what I did here is I took a piece of lattice work, marked out where they evenly spaced, so it works out where the beans will be planted evenly. They'll grow in the bushes and all intertwined, but
I'll take one more.
there you go, sir.
Right. Cocoa. Put this
We
in.
like to plant our beans thick. You could go
Yeah.
up to 9 per square foot, which seems a lot. And right here we have probably, that's the extra one.
That's
We have probably about 8 per square foot.
only three.
Some won't germinate, and if we do find it too thick, we'll just thin them out. Got them all in. We'll put these in, and they'll go back into the seed safe.
I need one more.
One more.
Finish three.
Here.
Why you give me two more?
Well, if we probably don't have enough to go this whole bed, we can always put them in another spot.
See.
Okay.
Alrighty, sir. Pick it up.
Pick Eat it.
Move it over.
Move it over. What
Okay.
we planting this time?
These are going to be Jackson Wonder Bush Lima beans.
Move it up. And we move the camera.
Thank you, sir.
Can we always see? Okay, now I'm back. Let's do the proper way.
Okay. Here's some seeds.
Wow, those are some big seeds.
This will grow into a nice big bush.
I'm just gonna
I find these take a little longer to grow and actually produce beans, but once they do, or maybe it was just the soil conditions last time we planted them. But once they do, they produce a lot.
Are you talking to the subscribers or you? Or
The subscribers, anybody watching, maybe.
And now, what if you just gonna plant the seed? Alright, do we
You did all of yours already?
do you do this one?
No, sir.
Okay, let me do that one already.
It's gonna be an interesting pattern.
Yes, it will. And subscribers, subscribe.
Like and subscribe this video.
Yes, right. Like and subscribe. And we only got 16 subscribers. We want more.
You don't have to try to pronounce them all.
Oh, that one looks that one looks a little tough.
What? Look. I'll be done. Right, ready.
Ready to move it? A little bit more.
Okay.
So what we have right here is some bush lily beans.
Mom,
Kind of just looks like a fancy long green bean, like a French green bean. You can cook them down.
Thank you, sir.
Most of the time we just
I'm sorry, I don't
we'll just pan fry them or put them in pasta salad.
I got the camera, buddy.
I'm gonna move it.
Okay, thank you. You want to make sure nobody misses anything, huh?
Yes. Good tiny bit. Then
Okay,
we
that's
did
good. Thank you. You're so helpful.
And now let's go. We deeply for me. They kind of look like jelly, and they kind of look like jelly beans, white jelly beans.
They kind of look like white jelly beans.
Yeah, yeah, and then come look then, come look at, come look
Which one
at
do you want next? One of these funny name ones?
Yeah. I'm moving further away from the pile. So.
Oh,
All right,
no.
since nobody wants to try to pronounce it, I'm going to do like Lane and show it to the camera.
I would.
So this company right here is artisticgardens.com. This is actually a favorite of mine because you can get a sample pack for like 50 cents and you can buy a whole large pack for about $2.
Yes, done. I want it to grow.
You put it in every hole?
Yeah?
Okay.
We use that whole bag.
Right, let's do some others.
You ready to move it, sir?
Yes.
I'll move the camera, you move that.
The moon looks closer.
I think it's close enough.
Okay.
Here you go.
Okay. These are some big boy beans. Do you remind me of one of the beans we did already?
Yeah, this looks like the Jackson one.
Alright, so now we're planting some pole beans on these trellises. What kind of pole beans you planting?
These are actually given to us by a neighbor. So they are actually named Miss Toots Vine Lima beans. They found it in her freezer and they wasn't sure on how long it's been in the freezer. She passed away in 2013. So our favorite neighbors, I'm sure you'll meet them in one video, they gifted us these to try to plant and see what they would do. So we're hoping we can have some success out of here. So I like lima beans, fresh lima beans. So I'm going all in and gonna plant them pretty heavy. There's no particular rhyme or reason here, just planting them really heavy and hoping that majority of them grow so we can have some and then pass on the seeds. And hopefully Miss Toot helps us out here. Alright, so what we're planting here is just some green bell peppers. And the same thing like tomatoes. We throw a little potting mix in there. Help those little roots out.
These beds were heavily amended from our rabbit cages.
And again, same thing like our tomatoes. We do have seeds started in the greenhouse. We're just trying to get a jump and take advantage of this warm February weather. Well, say warm, I'm wearing a jacket, but we're close to our last frost date, so we're just going to take a chance and try to get a head start on the spring growing season. Hopefully it works out. It's a chance. And if it does happen to frost, we'll cover all these guys up and protect them. Just so we have early crops and not be stuck buying them in a store. Alright, we'll move on and we'll plant our Mammoth Jalapenos next. So now we're planting some Mammoth Jalapenos. I am a huge fan of anything hot, and I am a Cajun, so I like to stuff hot things with meat, wrap it in bacon, and eat it. So Mammoth Jalapenos will be excellent. I'll probably stuff some with Cajun deer sausage, cream cheese, wrap it in bacon, put it on the smoker, or battered and deep fried. Also, I like to make armadillo eggs, and if you haven't heard of armadillo eggs, Google it, follow the recipe, try it, come back, comment, and thank me, because it is great.
We also had a lot of requests for more cowboy candy this year. If you haven't tried that, you're missing out. We're going to need a lot more jalapeno plants to produce what we need.
Yeah, last time we used 10 pounds of jalapenos, and cowboy candy with 10 pounds of jalapenos didn't even last 3 days. It was all gone. Kind of depressing. Okay, so that's all the Mammoth Jalapenos for now. We'll come back later and we'll fill in more. We have grapes right under the camera growing up. We're going to plant sunflowers and climbing stuff along the backside of the bed, and just small stuff that they'll be along the front.
We have some calendula planted along the front, so we're gonna go ahead and wait for that to come up because it gets hot here soon. So hopefully we'll get a little bit of production out of them before the heat comes.
We'll move on to the next thing we're gonna plant today. So what we're doing here is watering our tomatoes we planted earlier. I have some fish fertilizer in it. It'll help them the transplant stuff and help them grow, which this bed's pretty fertilized, so it'll just help them transition. Today we planted tomatoes, we planted Mammoth Jalapenos, we planted bell peppers, and a variety of bush beans, entire bed of bush beans, and
Cucumbers.
Christina planted cucumbers off camera, but we'll continue planting the next few days, and hopefully we're ready to grow for the 2022 growing season.
All right, we signing off, guys.
See you next time.
Bye.